The best and most accurate way of describing where Kenya is headed, what we're going to see shortly, is one very short English word: chaos. And it is not in the way most of you are thinking. Let me just explain. Predictably, very many people have gone to court to stop Finance Bill 2023. And at the tail end of June, because it was supposed to kick in on July 1st, at the tail end of June, a man called Bwana Mtata, the current senator for Busia, and very well known for using the courts, the justice system in Kenya, what's left of it, to fight for Kenyans, got a breakthrough when the High Court decided to stop, at least momentarily, the implementation of the finance bill. But Kenyans were in for a shock because they had not even finished celebrating, and when they went to fuel pumps to refuel their car, the new prices were enough to get anybody's blood pressure up. In a chaser, almost 200 bob per liter. Oh yes, we're so dangerously close to 200 shillings per liter of fuel. For the first time in the history of Kenya, fuel is more expensive than juice, oranges. What? And of course, many Kenyans believed that this was the government ignoring a court order. EPRA, to be more specific, were ignoring a court order. And this brought even more animosity against the government. And of course, meanwhile, true to form, Ruto's cronies, those close to State House, came out and told us that they will successfully petition for that stop order by courts to be quashed. Of course, they didn't mention the half a dozen other major cases that the finance bill has to go through before it can even start to ravage Kenyans. So that is a very clear picture of both sides of the divide concerning the finance bill. By the way, please stay with me till the end, because in the second half of this video, I am going to give you some information about the link between the tragedy at Londiani, where so many Kenyan lives were lost, in that freak road accident. The link between that and the UDA government and what is going to happen next. That, I assure you, should be super fascinating. So stay with me. So this is how the chaos come in. You have the government trying to raise funds. Many people believe they're going overboard. And then on the other side, you have the people of Kenya, almost to a man and a woman, fighting the implementation of this finance bill. Now, even with government machinery, even though it has been passed into law, just think about it for a minute. Do you think this finance bill 2023 will have any breathing space? Tell me, what do you think? And the government needs funds to run. But then this controversy, this controversial bill, what it has done, it has gotten in the way of even the normal, usual collection of revenue through taxes by the government. Simply because it has inspired resistance amongst the taxpayers, emotions amongst the taxpayers, which cannot be good for normal tax collection. There is the very real possibility of the government grounding to a halt. And you don't even want to think of the consequences of that. Sample the following very interesting statistic. Out of the money the government intends to raise, over 50%, you heard me right, over 50% of that revenue is targeted at coming from the increase in fuel VAT, number one, and the housing levy. The two most controversial points in that finance bill raise over half the revenue the government is anticipating in running the country. So if anything goes wrong with those two, think about it. The government is going to be very short of funds. And that is precisely what I mean by chaos. Folks, it is coming. And it is coming very, very fast. We have not even touched the resistance, organized resistance by Raila Odinga and Azimio. We have not even gone there. But already we can see chaos. And make no mistake about it, the Raila resistance is going to be at least partially effective. So when you put all those things together, there is only one conclusion you can make. Folks, what is coming is nothing less than total chaos. And that is before we even go into maandamano, and possible violence and chaos on that front. We have not even gone there. We're just dealing what? We're just dealing with the implementation of the finance bill and the issues around it, even before you touch maandamano. Now, we have a very interesting situation developing in Kenya, where it seems that propaganda rules. You know, recently, I talked to a businesswoman who runs a huge supermarket. And according to her, the finance bill was okay because the government had no other options. The government was no longer borrowing. According to her, since the UDA Kenya Kwanza government came into power, it has not borrowed. Why? Because the IMF and World Bank refused to lend the money. Now that is super fascinating, because we all know that this current government has exploded in borrowing. Indeed, as we speak, we have already broken the 10 trillion ceiling. That is the ceiling for maximum borrowing, or was the ceiling for maximum borrowing. That's history now. The appetite of this government in borrowing has broken all records. Okay? But then still, there's some Kenyans out there. And indeed, if you own a supermarket, you can qualify to be called an influential Kenyan. There's some Kenyans out there who believe that the government is no longer borrowing. What? And that's not all. There are other Kenyans who are very sure that our economy is going to recover. That all the things the government is doing are going to help in economic recovery. And they are very convinced. Not many, but a few are convinced about that. Now let's just look at one aspect alone. One that will give you a clear indicator that recovery, that place called recovery, right now, is not where our economy is headed. And here, I have to be so very grateful to Almighty God for my high school economics teacher, the late Dave Anderson, who always used to bring in politics when trying to give us knowledge on economics. And in those years, I remember, is the one who made me develop an interest in the economic policies of Margaret Thatcher when she was the Prime Minister of the UK. Please don't get worried. Sitatumia kizungu mingi. Simple as always it is. On this favorite channel of yours. Now here's the deal. There is no known economic recovery anywhere on the planet, anywhere on earth that has happened, as people are increasing interest rates. We all know what interest rates are. Let me give you an example from right here in Kenya. When Emilio Stanley Mwai Kibaki became president in early 2003, our economy was in serious trouble. And what he was looking for was for recovery. What is the first thing Mwai Kibaki did? Mwai Kibaki lowered interest rates. And the government made a very huge effort to push banks, to push everybody involved, to push the main people who could help them to lower interest rates as a trigger for economic recovery. And what happened next? The Kenyan economy took off under Kibaki. You know, many times I get the feeling that this government is sabotaging itself, making life very difficult for itself. Because policies are being passed, policies are being pushed that will not help them, policies that will work against them. And now let's even move away from the politics, where you force down the throats of Kenyans the Finance Bill 2023, knowing that itaumiza watu, okay? And knowing that you're going to be very unpopular because of it. And you still go forward, you still charge forward. And you are a politician elected into office, allegedly. Now I can hear one of those naive UDA bloggers shooting back and telling me, Kibaki did not have maandamanos. Kibaki did not have any political opposition as he took office. You're wrong. He had very, very serious political problems, which culminated in the 2005 failed referendum over a new constitution. The long and short of his troubles was that he did not honor the pre-election memorandum of understanding with other affiliated parties within the Rainbow National Coalition. And of course, Kibaki did not know how to play politics. Kibaki hated political mud fights, so much so that he appointed the very first government spokesperson in the history of our country, which of course was Dr. Alfred Mutua at that time. Why? Because he did not want to speak to the people. He did not want to get involved in the political bickering like Mo used to. So he just remained mum. Government spokesperson spoke on behalf of the government. So Kibaki had huge political problems, but he got the economics right. So that cannot be an excuse. I'm sorry, I've just proved it. But having said that, it is also true to say that you can get the politics so wrong that it now becomes impossible for you to do anything. And I refer you to Finance Bill 2023. Okay? That is one way of making sure you will not get any breathing space as a government to do anything negative or positive towards helping the economy recover. Implementing it will be impossible because you're dealing with people and people have emotions. Now, on this very tragic Londiani accident, freak accident, can you imagine one truck, a trailer, causing so much damage and havoc on a road? Can you even begin to imagine that? Because these trucks have accidents all the time. And the casualties are not as many as we have witnessed in this instance over the very sad state of affairs that unfolded on Londiani. And the truth is, when there's so much loss of life in one instance, like has happened in this case, then it is most probably spiritual. You cannot run away from the spiritual. Now, I've done many videos on this channel where I've proved just before general elections, just before the Christmas holidays, road accidents increase very dramatically on our roads. And some of us naive Kenyans believe that this is because, for example, in the run-up to the Christmas holidays, more and more drivers get drunk. People believe in the so many other small factors, which don't add up with the figures that we end up of casualties. People believe in those small points. And yet we know that in the spiritual, politicians and people who want to make quick money, calling themselves businessmen, are involved in some very, very dark activities, yeah, demonic activities designed to give them success. Well, the latest example is Shakahola. What was happening in Shakahola? What is the category of Kenyans who have been mentioned as being involved? Politicians and big business people. There you have it. Now here's the real shocker. Sometimes these activities can be for the sake of getting somebody into power, for the sake of getting an MP elected or a governor, etc., etc. But at other times, it can be for the purposes of keeping that member of parliament, that governor, that politician in power. Because maybe their position in power has been threatened. Maybe their leadership is shaky. Maybe there is a threat of removing them from power. This world, my friends, is very evil. And usually, evil is closer to you than you actually think. My very sincere condolences to all those dear Kenyans who lost loved ones at Londiani, and even those who got injured, some of them very badly, so that it will change life for them forever. May Almighty God give them all comfort and His peace that passes all understanding. Until next time, this is Chris Kumekucha.